The plans you refer to will soon be back in our hands.
Imagine stepping into a galaxy far, far away, where hidden stories shaped one of the most legendary films ever made. Did you know that George Lucas almost replaced Harrison Ford, or that a bizarre on-set accident changed the way Darth Vader's voice was created? These secrets will blow your mind, and they're just the beginning. But before we uncover these weird and fascinating facts about Star Wars 1977, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you never miss the untold mysteries of Hollywood's biggest blockbusters. Ready? Let's dive into the shocking truths that even die-hard fans didn't know about this galactic masterpiece. 1. Harrison Ford wasn't the first choice. When George Lucas was casting for Star Wars, he actually didn't want Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Lucas had already worked with him on American Graffiti and wanted a fresh face. The original contenders included Al Pacino, Burt Reynolds, and even Christopher Walken. But none of them clicked during auditions. Lucas used Ford only to read lines for other actors, yet his delivery was so natural that it impressed everyone. Eventually, Ford landed the role, and the rest is history. Can you imagine anyone else flying the Millennium Falcon or cracking those sarcastic one-liners? The thought alone shows how lucky the casting turned out. Without Ford's charisma, Han Solo might never have become the charming space smuggler fans adore. 2. Darth Vader's voice came from two actors. Here's a weird twist. Darth Vader was actually performed by two different people. On set, the towering presence of Vader was played by David Prowse, a bodybuilder whose height gave Vader his intimidating look. However, when Lucas heard Prowse's voice, he thought it lacked menace, so they dubbed it over with James Earl Jones, whose deep, booming tone gave Vader his unforgettable sound. Fans didn't know for years that Vader was essentially two people combined, one for the body, another for the voice. Even stranger, Prowse wasn't told his voice would be replaced, which left him frustrated. Still, this unique combination created one of the most iconic villains in film history, proving that sometimes two actors together can create cinematic magic. 3. George Lucas nearly quit the movie. Making Star Wars was no easy ride. George Lucas faced constant studio pressure, endless budget issues, and skepticism from executives who thought the movie would flop. The stress got so bad that Lucas reportedly suffered chest pains and nearly collapsed on set. At one point, he even considered quitting the film entirely. The special effects team also fell behind schedule, adding to his frustration. But Lucas pushed through, believing in his vision of a galaxy far, far away. Had he walked away, Star Wars might never have been finished. Instead, his determination gave birth to one of the most successful film franchises in history. Sometimes the difference between failure and success is just refusing to give up. 4. Chewbacca's roar was made from animals. The iconic roar of Chewbacca isn't just one sound, it's actually a clever mix of several animal recordings. Sound designer Ben Burtt combined noises from bears, walruses, lions, and even camels to create Chewbacca's unique growl. Each time Chewie roars, it's a different mix, giving his voice emotion and variety. The trick worked so well that fans feel real personality in the character, even though he never speaks English. Burt spent weeks experimenting to find the right combination, and the result was unforgettable. Without that distinct sound, Chewbacca might not have been the lovable, loyal sidekick he's remembered as today. It's a reminder that sometimes the strangest creative choices bring characters to life in the most unexpected ways. 5. The lightsaber sound was an accident. The legendary sound of the lightsaber wasn't carefully planned. It happened by accident. Sound designer Ben Burtt was experimenting with audio equipment when he noticed a strange hum from an old film projector. Later, while recording, his microphone accidentally passed near a TV set, creating a buzzing interference. Burtt layered these two sounds together, and suddenly, the humming and crackling produced the unforgettable lightsaber noise. Fans instantly connected with it, making lightsabers feel real and powerful. What's even crazier is that Burtt created different pitch variations for each Jedi and Sith, giving their weapons unique identities. From an accidental discovery to one of cinema's most iconic sound effects, the lightsaber's whoosh remains a timeless symbol of Star Wars magic. 6. Princess Leia's iconic hair was inspired by Mexican culture. The unforgettable hairstyle of Princess Leia, those big side buns, wasn't just a random design choice. George Lucas revealed he wanted Leia to look both royal and revolutionary, inspired by real-life women fighters from the Mexican Revolution in the early 1900s. These women, known as soldaderas, often wore unique braided hairstyles that symbolized strength and independence. Lucas wanted Leia to reflect a similar spirit, both a leader and a fighter. Actress Carrie Fisher admitted she wasn't a fan of the heavy buns at first, but they became one of cinema's most iconic looks. Imagine Star Wars without Leia's signature style. It's almost impossible. This detail proves that even small cultural inspirations can leave a lasting impact on pop culture forever. 7. The studio didn't believe in Star Wars. When 20th Century Fox greenlit Star Wars, most of the studio executives thought it would flop. Science fiction wasn't popular at the time, and executives believed the movie would be too weird for mainstream audiences. In fact, Fox had such little faith that they allowed George Lucas to keep merchandising rights, something unheard of back then. This decision turned out to be a billion-dollar mistake for the studio and a jackpot for Lucas. They even scheduled Star Wars for limited release, thinking it wouldn't last long in theaters. But when the film hit cinemas in 1977, audiences lined up around the block. The movie smashed records, shocking Fox and rewriting the future of Hollywood forever. 8. R2-D2's sounds came from a synthesizer and baby noises. The adorable beeps and whistles of R2-D2 weren't just random sound effects. Sound designer Ben Burt wanted the droid to sound mechanical yet emotional, like he was speaking a real language. To achieve this, he combined synthesizer tones with recordings of baby coos and giggles. Then he manipulated the sounds into beeps, whistles, and chirps. That's why R2-D2 feels so alive, because behind the electronic voice are real human expressions. Interestingly, fans often say they understand R2-D2 even without subtitles. This clever blend of sound made the droid one of the most beloved characters in cinema. It's a reminder that creativity often comes from mixing unexpected sources to create something entirely new. 9. The opening crawl was extremely hard to film. The famous opening crawl of Star Wars with yellow text scrolling into space looks simple today, but in 1977 it was a nightmare to create. Since digital graphics didn't exist yet, the team had to physically film long strips of text placed on a giant black background. They used a special motion control camera to slowly pan over the text one frame at a time. Any small error meant starting from scratch. The process was so tedious it took hours to capture just a few seconds of footage. Yet this old-school technique worked so well that it became a defining feature of every Star Wars film. It's one of those details that shows how creativity can shine even without advanced technology. 10. Obi-Wan Kenobi almost died differently. The duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader is one of the most memorable moments in Star Wars. But originally, George Lucas had written a completely different fate for Obi-Wan. In early drafts, he survived and escaped with Luke Skywalker after the Death Star battle. However, Lucas felt that Obi-Wan's death would give Luke stronger motivation to embrace his Jedi path. Actor Alec Guinness also encouraged the idea, believing it would add emotional weight. The decision paid off. Obi-Wan's sacrifice gave fans one of the most powerful moments in the saga. Without it, Luke's journey might not have carried the same depth or urgency. Sometimes a single story change can elevate a film into legend.
11. The film almost got a different title. Before it became Star Wars, George Lucas had several working titles. At one point, he called it Adventures of the Starkiller, as taken from the Journal of the Whills. Quite a mouthful, right? He eventually shortened it to Star Wars, a name simple enough to capture everyone's imagination. The change was crucial because marketing such a long, confusing title would have been a disaster. Even more surprising, later drafts nearly included The Star Wars, but Lucas dropped the "the" to make it punchier. Imagine telling friends you're a fan of Adventures of the Starkiller. It just doesn't have the same magic. Choosing the right title was one of Lucas's smartest moves, helping the film become a global phenomenon that still echoes today. 12. Stormtroopers kept hitting their heads. One of the funniest bloopers in Star Wars turned into a fan favorite. During the Death Star scenes, a stormtrooper famously bumped his head on a doorway. The mistake happened because the helmets limited the actor's visibility and the sets were smaller than expected. What's surprising is that Lucas didn't cut it out. He left the blooper in the final film. Over time, this accidental moment became so popular that later versions of the movie even added a sound effect to highlight it. Fans loved it, and it showed how even little mistakes can create iconic moments. The clumsy stormtrooper has since become a symbol of Star Wars humor, reminding us that perfection isn't always necessary for greatness. 13. Luke Skywalker's name was almost Starkiller. In the early drafts of the script, Luke Skywalker was named Luke Starkiller. The name sounded powerful, but also too violent for a hero. George Lucas eventually realized Starkiller might make audiences think of a villain rather than a brave farm boy destined to be a Jedi. So he softened it to Skywalker, which perfectly captured Luke's hopeful, adventurous spirit. Interestingly, Lucas later reused Starkiller for other Star Wars projects, including the villain in the Force Unleashed video game. But in 1977, the name change made all the difference. Skywalker has since become legendary, symbolizing heroism and hope. It's amazing how just one word can completely transform how audiences connect with a character. 14. The movie nearly bankrupted Lucasfilm. Making Star Wars almost destroyed Lucasfilm's production company. The film's budget kept growing due to costly special effects, elaborate sets, and constant delays. 20th Century Fox didn't believe in the project, so Lucas often had to fight for more money. At one point, Lucasfilm was running so low on funds that Lucas considered shutting everything down. The pressure was immense. If the movie failed, Lucas's career might have ended there. But when Star Wars premiered, it became a global hit, turning Lucasfilm into a powerhouse. What nearly bankrupted him actually launched one of the biggest media empires in history. It's proof that sometimes the greatest rewards come right after the hardest struggles. 15. Darth Vader's costume was hard to breathe in. The intimidating costume of Darth Vader looked incredible on screen, but it was a nightmare for David Prowse, the actor inside it. The suit was extremely heavy, the helmet restricted vision, and the mask made breathing difficult. During filming, Prowse often overheated under the hot studio lights, and he had to take frequent breaks just to catch his breath. Even simple movements like sword fighting were exhausting in the bulky armor. Despite the discomfort, the costume created one of cinema's most terrifying villains. Later versions of the suit were redesigned to be more manageable, but in 1977, Prowse had to endure real physical challenges. His effort made Vader's menacing presence unforgettable, proving that sometimes pain creates true on-screen power.